Hey guys, Nick here from Warriors Next Adventure podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in. Sorry about that. I just had to share the broadcast on a few different groups before I actually come live. So that's why it takes a second when it's all black screen. Thank you guys for tuning in. Warriors Next Adventure is a veteran nonprofit, and what we do is we help veterans with PTSD and suicide prevention by using recreational therapy. We go hiking, hunting, fishing, train jiu-jitsu. We have Operation Wolf Dog, which is we're partnered up with Minnesota Wolf Dogs, which is a hybrid wolf ranch or rescue, if you want to call it, up in Sandstone, Minnesota. And what we do is we take veterans up, we interact with hybrid wolves, and it's a great therapy. Now, there's all kinds of different therapies out there. Real quick, let me just promote the St. Croix River Paddle. If you go to GoFundMe or go to our Facebook page or our website, there's a GoFundMe up right now, and it's explaining what we're doing in it's August 31st through September 4th. Me and my friend Will are going to be kayaking or canoeing the whole St. Croix River. It's 155 miles, should take us about 5 days. So it's going to be pretty intense. Now, there's all kinds of different therapies out there. And the reason why I went with recreational therapy is because that covers all kinds of different aspects of therapy. I love the wolves. I love hiking. I love mountain climbing. So what I did is I created this nonprofit based off of my self-care. And my self-care is literally everything. And I love it. So recreational therapy covers so many different things. So today I have on Glenn from the Wind Rider Project. Now, we talked a little bit. We didn't talk too much. I like to get like a baseline of who I'm talking to before we actually have on the podcast, but I love what he's doing. So what he does is he takes veterans and he helps them with therapy using equine therapy. So using horses, which I'm actually terrified of horses, but that's kind of something I don't really tell too many people, but I guess everybody knows now. So I'm going to bring Glenn on and I'm going to let him tell us a little bit about his project and what he's doing to help vets. So, hey, Glenn, how you doing?
Great, Nick. Hey, thanks so much for having me on today.
Yeah, I appreciate you reaching out, man. I put a post out on a bunch of different groups asking if anybody would be interested in having, coming on the podcast to talk a little bit about veteran issues or sharing their stories, or if people are doing things for veterans. And you reached out about your equine therapy. So tell us a little bit more about your project, where you guys are based, and what exactly you guys do.
Great, happy to, Nick. So our project is called the Wind Rider Project. I think you've got it scrolling across the bottom there. It's a name that came to me while I was riding my motorcycle on the back roads of Colorado about 5 years ago. Strong winds. It's windy anyway, but this day was particularly windy, and I was on the way home. So I'm thinking, just get home, we'll be cool. And I had this vision of helping warriors, veterans who live with post-traumatic stress, because I do, and I'm a veteran as well. And so the Wind Rider Project was born literally on the back of my motorcycle. And my wife and I are equine Gestalt coaches, as well as non-equine Gestalt coaches, meaning that our horses are part of our coaching program. We've had many veterans come through, both those who are active, those who are transitioning to civilian, and those who have been war active and now straight civilian, and all forms of stress or trauma in their lives. And they've come to us anywhere from 3 months up to 18 months, depending upon what their needs were.
So
and
it's like as long as they want, really?
Very much. Yeah. As long as they want to keep coming back and give me a ring and say, yeah, sure, come on down. So we're open and available.
That's amazing.
The year. Yeah.
Where exactly are you located again?
Oh, yeah. So we're close to Colorado Springs in Colorado, a small town called Elbert. We live on a 40-acre farm. Most of it's in hay production, but a lot of it is we've got a covered arena, so we can do our practice year-round, indoors and outdoors.
Nice.
One notable thing, it's not a riding program, though. It's all groundwork. And the Gestalt aspect helps the veterans deal with and heal up as much as possible their inner wounds, and the horses just help them move into the places where they can get some help and some healing.
So is that a lot with brushing them, feeding them, cleaning them, and actually just working with them, petting them, stuff like that?
More like the last part about hanging out with them. The women love to just groom them a lot, brush them,
Yeah.
Put ponytails and put braids in their manes and stuff like that. Right. So, they just hang out. And it's amazing the things that they will say right into the horse's manes or their necks that they won't necessarily say to a human. I don't know what it is, but it's magic. Yeah.
So there's another guy that I talked to named Wayne up in Montana. We were actually supposed to meet up with each other, and we were supposed to do a documentary, which I really want to do still. So it wasn't me shooting the documentary, but he wanted me to come up with a couple of veterans, and they wanted to film a documentary about what he was doing, but using me and my veterans, which would be sweet. Because like I've said before, I'm fucking terrified of horses. I don't know why. They're huge and they just scare me. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I've ridden and I've been kicked off a horse before when I was younger, and I don't know, they just scare me. A bunch of people calling me a pussy. That's okay. It's fine. I'm an ex-cage fighter. I'll get in a cage and fight with another person, but a horse terrifies me it's so stupid. But it's such a, Wayne's doing somewhat the same thing. I can't remember off the top of my head what it's called, and I feel bad. I'm gonna look it up. But he's doing, it's like a 3-4 day project. And so he's teaching riding and everything like that, but there's also like a survivals course and everything. So it's really cool seeing how many different people are picking up on this. And one of the things that we talked about was the energy that horses put off, and the actual you would obviously know more than me. But it's like the healing energy that horses give off. Like the horses give off a certain amount of hertz, and it's a lot like, how binaural beats are supposed to be good for people, just because the sound.
Yes.
Yeah. So what can you say about that? Do you know much about that?
I can't speak really detailed about that, but I can tell you from personal experience that I think it's a horse's heartbeat. It's different than ours. And as anyone who lives with post-traumatic stress, I mean, we're already kind of in a, flight or fright state anyway. Yeah. Horses are pack animals. They're prey, right? So they're always on the alert. But when they're just chilled out, and this is true for any animals, but horses, because of their size, people just tend to chill out when standing and hanging out with them. It's pretty miraculous. Yeah.
Terrified.
So, come on out, Nick. We'll help you through that, man. No problem.
I'm sure I'll get over it. It's an irrational fear, and I understand that. I've analyzed it, and I get it. But it's just for some reason, I don't think it's creeped me out. There's you ever heard of there's a racetrack here called Canterbury in Minnesota? Have you ever heard of that? Canterbury Parks?
No, I have not.
So it's a raceway, and I actually have a friend who works with the racehorses, and as you would probably know, they're like jacked up on steroids. These horses they're huge, they're ridiculously muscular, and they're aggressive.
Yeah.
But we went up, we were feeding them carrots and everything like that, and I'm sitting here just like I'm just reaching out, like I don't want to get them close to me, but I'll feed them, but just stay on that side of the fence.
Yeah. So let me share something with you. I did not grow up around horses, right? I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, so the horses were under the cops. Oh, really? So I mean, that's one thing right there that not a great fun memory, but they were cool in the parades. So in the city. It took me, I think I was probably in my 20s, the first time I was actually around a horse and got up on one. It was an old trail horse. That wasn't the most comfortable, but it was okay. But it was really not until, probably 15 or so years ago that I really got comfortable being close to a horse. Right. And believe it or not, the safest place around the horse is right next to it.
Really? Yep. Yeah. I know you don't want to get anywhere near the backside.
True. Yeah. If you got to cross around, you put a hand on the rump to say, hey, I'm back here, and they'll pay attention, and things are pretty chill.
Really?
It's when we're in our heads and going, shit, what am I doing here? And they're going, why is he scared? Maybe I ought to be scared. So
yeah. Is it true that they can kind of sense when you're a little off?
Very much so. Absolutely. Yeah. It's uncanny how they do that. Like I said, they're a prey animal, so they're always on the alert. And I can tell you from riding, because I used to ride a horse years ago, that when we relax in the saddle, they'll relax under the saddle. If we're all stiff and tense, they're stiff and tense.
That's crazy. Yeah. And I have so many friends who own horses and love horses and everything like that. So they're always trying to convince me. It's like, listen, I know it's irrational. I know it's stupid. But no, I wish we would have met each other before I went to Colorado. I was almost a month ago now. I was over a month ago. Wow. And we were in Colorado Springs, down in Fountain for a little bit, and then up into Leadville. But we are coming back. I don't know when. I'd love to go back next year if we can, because there's a couple vets that want to climb a mountain again. We got to climb Mount Massive. So I think we're
Nice.
going to do the kind of the same thing we did last time.
Yeah.
Is come in and we'll start in Colorado Springs, and I want to get there like a couple days early this time, so we can do something like go out and see what you guys are doing with the Wind Rider project, and then one of my friends I met on Instagram. Most of these guys I just meet on the internet, and then I eventually meet up with them, and it's like we've been friends for years. It's kind of strange how that works with
Right.
veterans, right?
Right. Yeah. Yep.
This guy named Bonnie, he's got DB Skate Designs. He takes like old skateboards and he recycles them and he makes rings out of them, like wooden rings. It's actually really cool. And yeah, so like wood turning on the lathe.
Yes.
So he does it like that, and he makes these rings like comic book rings. It's pretty cool the way he does all that.
What does he do with the rings?
He sells them on like Etsy and stuff. Sorry, my cat for some reason, dude. What is your deal? But no, he makes some really cool ones. But he's in Colorado Springs, and so I want to meet with him. I'd like to meet with you. And I met Anthony last year. Anthony Santiago. He's got Team Chaotic Combat Sports in Fountain. So I definitely got to go back and see him again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd love if once we figure out when we're going, I'd love to take a few guys come down and check the place out. Maybe meet some of the horses.
That'd be awesome.
I'll stay on the other side of the fence. I'm just kidding. I'll man up.
Yeah, there you go. That's right. They'll come and invite you in. So I mean, it's hard to not be in with them.
Yeah. Are they don't horses kind of have like their own attitudes too? Aren't they like kind of goofy on their own? Like I've seen some goofy videos. Tell me about your horses.
Yeah, they definitely have a personality all into themselves. Absolutely, just like you and me and everybody else. We've got our own quirks. They got their own quirks. So we've got 4 horses, two guys, 2 gals. Tango and Declan are the guys, and Lily and Emma are the gals, and Mares and the other dudes.
Yeah.
So I mean, they're all unique in their own way in terms of helping in their coaching methods. They're each unique, their own, and they help in their own special way. Like Lily is great for pushing buttons, and she'll get in people's faces literally, and start putting their face in their face, and kind of checking them out, and she'll push buttons when needed to help the people get to where they need to go to start letting stuff go. It's amazing.
That's crazy. Yeah. So when veterans come stay with you? So now you said you have a couple of rooms in your basement, right?
Yeah, it's a fully finished, furnished basement. Yep. So
you actually let people come stay in your own home and play with, like, hang out with your horses and everything as long as they want.
For the weekend. Yeah, but I mean, over months, like I said, if they need help, we're available. That's what we're here for. Absolutely.
I got a couple of veterans in Colorado that I'm probably going to send your way.
Okay.
I have one girl named KJ that I kind of met here and there. We didn't actually meet yet, but she was staying down at. You ever heard of Mattersville?
Mattersville? No.
Yeah.
No.
It's a wolf rescue that veterans can come stay and work with the wolves. So pretty much it's like trading labor for a place to stay. Right. So I don't know where she's at right now, but I know she's in Colorado. So I'm going to send her your info because I think she would actually be pretty interested in what you're doing.
Okay, that'd be awesome. Yeah, we're here.
So what is like a normal weekend like? So say a veteran were to come out with you, how would like the day-to-day go?
Right. So typically they come on a Friday afternoon late around dinner time. We'll check them in, get them set up in their rooms, have dinner together, and do a genogram or a genealogy, family history on paper, so we can get an understanding of who they are, and they can get a better understanding of what's going on inside of them and where it's all coming from.
Well, sometimes laying out what your issues are, you don't really realize what they are until you actually see them put down on paper, especially if it's you doing it.
That's very true. Absolutely. Yeah. I know we've done many genograms with all of our clients as a first step, and also typology. So we know, and they know what their typology is, like introvert, extrovert, sensing, feeling, thinking, judging, all those things. It really helps give credence to who people are in their lives, and then what our go forward position is. So that's a Friday. Saturday morning, we usually start out right after breakfast, meet down in the barn, get them all checked in again, sign some releases, give them a horse demo, a safety demo, and then we'll sit down and start talking, figure out what's happening, what they need. And then as soon as we find something that we can work on, we'll usually one or two of the horses are in the arena anyway. We'll send a person in with a horse and then just start coaching them through some things, having them do some exercises, maybe some grooming, whatever.
Yeah.
And really watch the horse, because the horse is going to tell us almost as much and sometimes more so than what the person is willing to speak about.
Like if they're frustrated, or like do they just have different mannerisms if somebody either isn't, comfortable, or what do you mean by that?
Right. So let's say let's say somebody has some sexual abuse in the background, and they got triggered in the military, right? And they're having to deal with that. They may not be ready to, because they don't know us yet, right? They're not. We haven't established trust.
Yeah.
But like I said earlier, they'll get around the horse, and the horse, between us coaching them to do some things with the horse, maybe just grooming, chilling out, relaxing, hanging out, the horse will help them energetically through the chakras, the body alignment, just open up and then start discussing what their challenges are, their issues are, or whatever, so we can get to the core of the matter, and then we can help work with them to drop all the stuff, as much stuff as they're ready to let go of in the arena, literally, so they can move forward in their lives. And we've had a lot of huge releases, that we call it, in the arena from a Gestalt perspective. And people have walked away after a weekend and said, man, I have been in therapy for years, and nothing has ever hit me like this did in a weekend.
Yeah, that's why as I said at the beginning of the show before I brought you on there's so many different styles of therapy, right? Yeah. And I don't feel like you have to be a clinical psychologist to help somebody. I get there's certain cases, and I'm well informed that if somebody is outside of my ability, and I'm not going to try to treat somebody, right? That's not what I'm doing. But what I am is I'm a friend, and I'm an outlet, right? So what I'm mainly trying to do, like a coach, is what I technically have to call myself, even though that sounds stupid.
That's what we are. We're coaches. I mean, we are coaches. Yeah.
Yeah, it's different. Well, it's what you guys are doing. You're teaching people with horses and stuff. I'm just talking to people, trying to get their perspectives to slightly change. So it's like I'm doing a lot of things a counselor would do, and I base it off of peer-to-peer counseling, right?
Okay.
So I've taken plenty of peer-to-peer counseling courses and stuff like that. And I've been counseling my guys when I was in the military. I started in 2010 after I got back from Iraq. So I've been taking guys out hiking and taking them out to have, fires in the woods and doing all kinds of stuff. It's amazing once you find out what you're passionate about and how it helps people. Yep. And tell me it doesn't help you just as much as it helps them.
Absolutely.
It's such an amazing feeling.
It is.
So when did you guys decide to start doing this?
Oh, great question. 2011, 2012 is when my wife and I went through the 2-year certification process. And I don't know, we were towards the end of our careers in technology, even though that was years ago. I retired earlier this year after 40 years of
congratulations.
No, thank you. Thank you. It's been a transition. I'll tell you that. 8 months, I'm just starting to chill out and wind down and understand life beyond corporate technology. Yeah. But we knew, I don't know, Ashara, my wife, she knew that she wanted to help people for a long time. She's an animal communicator, so she works with people and their animals. Like I said, I've lived with post-traumatic stress my entire life, so somewhere in the back of my mind, I knew that I always wanted to help people one way or another. And when the coaching opportunity came along, I felt into it and said, yeah, this seems right. And like I say, 5 or 6 years ago is when the Wind Rider project just kind of, clicked in place. So we're going to be doing this for the rest of our days, however long that is. God willing, it'll be a long time.
That's awesome. I respect that for sure. And anybody who's reaching out to help, fellow veterans, like we are, I love the fact that you are taking the military and recreating that brotherhood after the military. I think that's so important, and which is part of the reason why I try to incorporate civilians as much as possible. None of my events are only for veterans. There's a few that might just be only for vets, but you know, the majority, like the hikes that we do, I always invite civilians to come with because we all need to learn how to mesh together. Veterans need to get beyond just, you know, integrating with veterans. There's so many more people out there that you're cutting yourself off to. And I feel like programs like yours are at least going to get them, you know, into that mindset to where they can mesh a little bit better. If they can mesh with a horse, they can mesh with other people.
Right.
You know, I think once people start understanding that, it makes it a little bit easier. You know, kind of same with what I do with the wolves up in Minnesota here.
There's a place in outside Durango, Colorado, and then also west of Colorado Springs, two different wolf havens. And the place in outside Durango takes their wolves out on visits to different parks, national parks, where people
up by like Garden of the
wife,
Gods and stuff.
One place that outside of Estes Park, it's another place. So a couple of years back, my wife and I went to go check out the wolves because the wolf is one of my power animals in this life. So I hung out with a wolf inside its enclosure with its person. They're like a big puppy dog. I mean, these are, I wouldn't want to necessarily say every wolf, especially wild wolves in the wild, are like that, but they'll have a natural inclination to just be chilled out like any dog. And it was spectacular to do that. I'll say, to hang out with a wolf.
Yeah,
I'll do that again easily.
It's pretty awesome. If you ever get to Minnesota and you have like a day to just kill, let me know, because we work with hybrid wolves, so the majority of them are in like the 80 to 90% wolf, and then the rest is like either shepherd, Malamute, something like that. So there's a lot of places around the United States where you're not allowed to own hybrid wolves. And so these people get these animals and they get big and they're like, holy shit, this is like a wolf. I can't keep him, or somebody reports them and they're either they're due for euthanasia. And so it's like, find somewhere to keep them or they're going to die. And so, Minnesota Wolf Dogs we're a separate entity, but together we form Operation Wolf Dog.
Nice.
And it's the two of our organizations working together just to help veterans, and it's amazing because it's a give and take kind of thing too. So let me ask you if you kind of have the same kind of thing. What we do is we go out there and we build dog houses, we build fencing, we do whatever we can to help out around the ranch or sanctuary. It's either sanctuary, rescue, ranch. I don't know. I don't really know exactly what they call it, but you get the point.
Yeah.
And it's not only the fact that we get to play with these animals, we get to go inside of a cage. Some of these animals are like extremely high content wolf. Like they're pretty much, it's a wolf. But you see them go inside the cages with these guys and their whole demeanor changes. It's like everything else doesn't matter anymore because you're in a cage with a goddamn wolf. You can't think about all that other shit.
Right.
And I would assume it's the same, with the horses for some of these guys.
Oh, with the horses, yeah, for sure.
Probably less of like fear.
Right. But it's especially interesting to see when, like yourself, anyone who has a fear around the horse because they've never been around it or they've had a bad experience, the first thing we do is help them chill out, just to stand next to the horse, put their arm around the horse, and just, literally do nothing more than just be. And stay with the horse and learn how to let go of that fear, because that's just a survival mechanism at that point.
Yeah.
Breathing, EFT, tapping, emotional freedom technique, we incorporate that and meditation and mindfulness and some other activities into all of our programs. We've got a labyrinth for everyone to walk through, do some journaling. It's a full weekend, just to get back to your question about what does a weekend look like. So usually a veteran or anyone coming out, it's 2 to 3 touch points with the horses over Saturday, Sunday. Early, we're done by 2:33 at the latest on a Sunday, so you can go chill and go do what they need to do before they head back to their lives.
Yeah.
But each successive time that they are with the horses, they are willing and ready to take the next step in their own healing and journey. And it's in a no risks scenario, really.
Yeah.
The only risk is themselves getting inside their own space in their own bodies to say, here's what's going on and here's where I want and need help. I mean, that's huge right there.
Yeah.
Asking for help, being open, available,
Mm-hmm.
and it makes our work easy.
I definitely, since the beginning of WNA, I've been pushing vulnerability, because vulnerability is the most important thing in the world.
Yeah.
What service were you in?
Air Force.
You were Air Force? Oh, me too. So
Oh,
you were a smart guy.
yes.
So one of the things that, everybody's taught in the military, it doesn't matter what branch you're in, is to, shut up and push. And so instead of, speaking out and saying, hey, this either upset me, or, hey, my friend died and I'm a little fucked up from it, or, a lot of these things that happen either overseas or, there's many accounts of, rape in the military, and, military sexual trauma is just as important as, somebody who are getting a firefight overseas. And
Yeah.
military sexual trauma is actually one of the highest rates of PTSD over combat, and a lot of people don't give it, they don't give it the respect that it deserves. And a lot of us are told to just shut the fuck up and move on. And so we never learn how to process these traumas. And so you go through life just carrying that weight with you, like the whole, unpacking, the unpacking thing. Nobody unpacks anymore. They're just carrying that goddamn load with them everywhere they go. And until you can actually be vulnerable enough to admit, hey, I have a problem, or I need to talk to somebody about something, it's hard to move on, and it's hard to mesh into a new society, because civilian life is a new society. It's completely different from military lifestyle. There's similarities, of course, but and I think any veteran can agree that adjusting into the civilian world is not easy. And when you have all that weight on your shoulders from the past, either from like a firefight or something that happened in the military, it makes it really hard to start over when you're starting your next life walking backwards. So when we're vulnerable and we actually get to that point where we can accept the fact that, listen, I'm not 100%, and anybody, even if you think you're 100%, you should talk to somebody, just about life. If you actually sit and meditate, like I'm happy you're incorporating meditation into what you do. I also do that. I teach veterans how to meditate when they want to. Most veterans think it's voodoo, so it's hard.
Who cares?
Yeah, I know. It's really hard to get veterans to start meditating. I've had a few guys look at me like, I'm not doing that shit. It's like,
right.
okay. I mean, you just told me that you're not doing well, and I give you an offer of something that definitely 100% will at least help you understand what's going on. Right. And, I'm sure you can agree, is understanding what the underlying issues are is the very first step that anybody needs to take to start healing process. Because if there's a problem but nobody knows what the goddamn problem is, how are you going to find a solution? You're just throwing pills out there at people, and it doesn't work.
Exactly right. You can't cover up, there's no silver bullet in healing. And I don't care if it's physical, mental, emotional, it doesn't matter. There's no silver bullet. It takes, unpacking is a great word. You got to kind of dig in and be willing to let go. I know a lot of combat veterans I used to ride with in the motorcycle club, and I did some talks with them, and they're a very tight-knit group because they've been through combat together. Some of them were actually in the same troop together.
Oh, okay.
In the same battles and skirmishes. So, I mean, that's a bond that can never be broken, and nor would I ever think to try. But to just put a chink in the armor to help them get some exposure to what else is available, other than, yeah, I've been through the war and I've got this thing going on and I drink and I've got pills in the VA and this and that. I mean, that's, Band-Aids on Band-Aids on Band-Aids. If you really want to get down to some real world healing, and some guys don't, I mean, and you got to respect that. But those who do, that's where it's available. And I think any opportunity or outlet, yourself, any other program, it's a great way to start. And then, the VA certainly provides good benefits and a lot of in office therapy, talk therapy. But it's where the horses really shine, that I've noticed that I know the veterans just open up with those horses, and it's miraculous to watch. So we can't take all the credit, and when we give credit to the horses each and every time, because they're the ones who knows what's going on.
Well, you guys are the outlet. I like to say I'm a conduit. I don't, You
Yeah.
know, every time I've had a veteran either call me or say that I changed his life, I look at him like, I didn't do shit. I literally am just a conduit. The only
Yep.
thing I'm doing is I'm providing you tools, and you yourself is going to be the one to change yourself.
Hmm.
Maybe something I said helped. I'm sure I say all kinds of crap. I talk too much, but um, ultimately, like you said, band-aids on band-aids with alcohol and pills and everything like that. You know, when you get a cut on your skin, it's not the band-aid that heals it. What it does is it just helps you. Your body is what is going to heal yourself
Right on.
physically, emotionally, and spiritually. So you
Right.
need to figure out what's inside yourself that is going to help you heal. And all we are doing is we're just conduits. We're conduits to an alternative to healing, because there's so many different methods out there to healing. You know, with equine therapy, I've been saying that wrong for years. I thought it was equine therapy. So
Oh.
when I saw it on your website, I was like, oh damn, that my grammar's terrible. But no,
Yeah.
like with the wolves, with lifting weights, with
Hmm.
jujitsu,
Hmm.
mixed martial arts, there's so many different things out there, and that's why one of my slogans is explore everything.
All right.
Um, I saw it on a metal structure in Hawaii when I was kind of on a mental mission trip, and I was trying to figure some things out. And literally 2 weeks after I got back from that trip, I created Warrior's Next Adventure, and I saw that painted up on there, and I'm like, yeah, that's it. I was like, explore everything. There's
Oh,
so many different options out there. You
yeah.
know, I hate when you hear guys, you know, it's ourselves. We are the only ones holding ourselves back from healing.
Hmm.
And I don't care what has happened to you in your life. You can't always control what happens to you, but you can always control your reaction. And when you start to go through programs like yours, or you go on some hikes with me, there's so many different nonprofits out there that are doing such amazing things and
Right.
providing, being the conduits, these alternative healings. When you do these kind of things and you just learn a little bit about yourself, like that, what's the test called with the introvert extrovert? I can't remember what it's called.
It's Myers-Briggs.
Yeah.
Well,
So when you take
yeah.
the Myers-Briggs test, you
Yeah.
you learn a little bit more about how you operate. And that's why I think mindfulness meditation has been so successful for myself. And that's why I push it on so many people. Like
Mm.
I've been training Buddhism since 2016. And so a
Nice.
lot of my healing has been internal. Everything is internal. And I don't care who you are, I don't care what religion that you follow. If you go inside and you really start to learn who you are, and you start to figure out what are the things that are slowing me down. You know,
Mm.
what am I doing to slow myself down? What can I do to make things better? You know, if you have faith in God, or you know, if you're Islamic, or whatever religion you are, if you practice mindfulness, it will enhance any spirituality that you have. I'm not a religious person. I was turned off to that fairly young. Um, I just I found so much, out about myself through mindfulness meditation, and really
Mm.
actually getting to the point where I stop and I let my mind just wander. I don't try to control anything, but you become ultra aware of everything with, you know, your breathing patterns, with your heart pulse, and you can feel, eventually you get in those deep states of meditation, you can literally feel the blood pulsing through your hands. I usually, I don't do the typical, like, you know, sit on your hand. A lot of people don't understand you don't have to sit a certain way to meditate.
You can walk,
That's,
right? Walking
yeah,
meditation. Yeah.
exactly. And
Yeah.
there's so many different ways. I actually meditate while training jujitsu. When
Excellent.
we're actually rolling, you know,
Yeah.
when you actually fight each other at the end. I don't know if you
Hmm.
know much about jujitsu, but for those who don't know, at the end, when you're done training, what you do is called rolling, and you're actually fighting your partner.
Wow.
And jujitsu, you can go 100%, because jujitsu is like the only sport you can literally go 100% and not hurt somebody, as long as they tap on time. You know, if you don't
Right.
tap, you're probably gonna break your arm. Um,
Yeah,
but
we're
I get into this
yeah.
very similar stance in meditation when I'm training jujitsu, and I'm not there. It's like I'm watching my body do something,
Mm,
you know.
very
And
cool.
do you guys tend to try to meditate with the horses, or do you do that after the fact?
Not so much with the horses because then that could be a checkout and the horses could get confused about what's going on.
Yeah,
But indoors or outdoors on a nice day like it is today, we'll just go hang out in the field somewhere in the pasture where grass is growing and let the breeze wash over us and then just sit. And I'll do a little bit of a guided meditation and then get quiet and let people just do what they need to do for a while to start learning about it. And then we offer tools, information, websites, of course. If they're interested and want to learn more about the practice, there's far better teachers than I, but I like to introduce it as a potential outlet for them.
Nice.
Yeah, you're talking about jiu-jitsu, and my wife and I, for years, studied under Aikido, under Bookman Sensei in Seattle.
Nice.
A fantastic sensei. He's just phenomenal. And you talked about tapping out, and I remember one of the first things I learned is learn how to tap. If your hand is pinned, use your elbow. Whatever you need to do to say you're done.
Yeah, but, I initially started with a little bit of Aikido back in 2007. My initial jiu-jitsu instructor did Aikido as well. And so we trained jiu-jitsu and we trained like 20 minutes of Aikido. I'm like, I don't want to do Aikido. I want to do jiu-jitsu. So we stopped doing that.
Yeah. And in martial arts, really, movement is huge, and we do a lot of movement at home. We do yoga personally, and Qigong we added recently. So,
what is that?
Qigong. It's energy. It's movement with energy in the body.
So it's like a form of Tai Chi slightly?
It's different. Tai Chi is much more fluid and movement. Qigong has it's mostly we just started a lot of standing and bringing energy in through the body from the universe and everything. But, cool. It's all energy work. All martial arts, one way or another, is energy work. So, it's all really good.
Well, yeah. If you really stop and think about it, like with MMA and everything like that, you can hit somebody, but if you don't hit them with energy, it completely changes the punch. And a lot of it has to do with the follow through and the lead up and the way that your body moves. And you have to physically imagine it actually happening. Because you can just hit somebody and nothing will happen. But if you imagine your fist going through their skull and you get like that perfect form, the perfect punch, and you put the perfect amount of pressure and you actually think of the energy going through it, it changes everything. Like when I started, my buddy Oren and I have been talking about energy for years, and he used to fight back in the day. And his was a little less organized than what I do, but he's an amazing dude. And so talking about a lot of the stuff that he did was like, think about the energy rather than just throwing a punch. Think about the energy that you have behind the punch, and it changed everything. I ended up making it to the number 3 ranked amateur welterweight in Minnesota. And a lot of it had to do with this thinking and meditation and mindfulness meditation. And I was always fighting and I was always happy. I was always smiling. And everyone, like, you have all these guys with like fight names like the Punisher and the Killer, like all these stupid names. I hated that shit. My nickname was the Princess. Long story on that one. It all started after a bunch of alcohol in Brazil. So,
right.
What's up, Andy? The energy transfer is a real thing. And it's amazing when Wayne told me about the energy transfer with horses. I'm like, what is this voodoo? But it's the same thing what veterans tell me about meditation and everything. So I was like, okay, hold on. So I looked into it a little bit, and I started reading a couple articles about it. It's the hertz. I think that's what it is. The hertz and what's the vibration levels? It's hertz, right? With like binaural.
Yeah, well,
with like binaural beats and everything like that.
Yeah, well, our body operates at a certain level of hertz, and then there's higher, lower, and alpha states, gamma states. This we're talking about brain contact and mind expansion as such.
Well, I mean, it's factual that our bodies literally have electricity flowing through it. And when they used to do like shock therapy and stuff like that, or like even a TENS unit, when you put a TENS unit on your shoulder or something like that, and you turn it up to a high volume, like your whole shoulder starts moving. It's a fact that there is energy flowing. So why would energy not transfer between an animal and a human?
We're all made of, we're all connected that way. As a species, we're all interconnected to one another. And it doesn't matter if we're human, animal, mineral, rock, tree, water. At the most microscopic levels of our being, it's all energy. And we're all absolutely all connected that way. I truly believe that. And part of a lot of our Gestalt practice is
hey, real quick, Wayne is on right now. I want you and Wayne to talk a little bit.
All right.
This is the guy I was telling you about. I was telling me about the herds and the flow horses and everything. So,
All right.
Wayne, you should definitely contact Glenn after this.
Hey, Wayne, how you doing, man? Right. So, being in touch with the people who come in, our clients, we can get in touch with that energy field and find out what's going on with them. And the horses, they have a much bigger energy field. Our bubble, let's say, is our arm's width, 5 to 6 feet. Theirs is 3 times that. So when you enter their space, they know it. I mean, they have to, because they're prey animals. And like I said earlier, anything out in the plains, where in the wild, they're constantly on the lookout for what's going to kill them, make them lunch. So there is an energy transference that quite clearly happens, and people who are open to that and empathic enough have said that they felt a shift when they get in and around the horses.
Yeah, it's crazy, and I've felt that connection with people before too, and I am such an empathetic person, when I'm doing any kind of conversations with some vets, or I'm teaching meditation to some people, I find such an amazing connection with people, and it can only be explained as energy. That's the only thing that makes sense. And when you actually have these deep feelings inside your chest, it's literally, I feel like we can literally feel the energy transfer between two people,
Have you ever checked out the Heart Math Institute?
The Heart Math Institute?
Right. I think it's Heart-Math Institute, or just Google Heart Math, based out of California. And they have done years of studies with people about energy. And the heart, a lot of people think the brain is really the control center. The heart has much more of the same kind of cells that the brain does, only much more so. And it's the heart that communicates with the brain much more so than the other way around. So we're really heart-centered beings. Much more.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And real quick, Wayne said he just sent you an email with his info. So.
All right, good. Thank you, Wayne.
It's crazy. And, Mara, my girlfriend, we have a lot of these conversations because we're both into a lot of the holistic methods of healing, using meditation and using vitamins and stuff like that. Her more so than me on vitamins and stuff. She's still trying to teach me that stuff. It's it's taking me a while. But with just having that deep connection. So I have said for years that deep connection with each other is the best way to help somebody heal, because when you can get to the point where you can, and I don't mean this in a derogatory term, but like when you get down on somebody else's level, like say somebody is deeply depressed, I can put myself in those situations, and I physically get depressed when I'm working with somebody who is depressed. I physically get sad when I'm working with somebody who's sad. I share emotions so well, and I feel like a lot of it has to do with the energy connection between the person and myself and who we're talking to. And I feel like the way that we deliver ourselves with speech can completely change the way that somebody's perceiving, a certain scenario. And so with the whole hiking aspect, I did a podcast with Mark Odland. I'm actually meeting up with him on Thursday. He's an EMDR therapist. You ever heard of EMDR?
Yes.
So he explained to me, and then I also heard it on a podcast with Dr. Andrew Huberman. He's a neuroscientist. Guy's a genius. So if anybody's looking to learn about some neuroscience stuff, Andrew Huberman is just amazing. I stumbled upon him like last week. But anyway, he was talking about the left-right movement of hiking. So a lot of EMDR is the left-right movement of your eyes. And what you're doing is you're remapping your brain, and you're slightly recording over it. So I like to explain it as like a VHS tape. So you record something on a VHS tape, and it's there. It's probably never going to go away. And then you can put it on another, you can put it back in the system. You can start recording over it. That original video is there. However, what you're doing when you're using the left-right movement mixed in with hiking, or any kind of left-right movement, it could be walking with horses, or it could be hiking, mountain climbing, all kinds of stuff. When you mix that all together, what you're doing is you're remapping your brain, and you're connecting it to that new experience.
Yeah.
So when you have people out there working with your horses, what they're doing is, if they're reliving some of the horrible shit from their past and they're talking about some of their traumas, what they're doing is they're connecting that to that horse and to that moment. And that moment right there is forever going to be, burnt into their brain. And so anytime they start to have either a flashback or the thoughts about whatever the trauma was that they experienced during that time, because I do believe in, re-experiencing that trauma. You can re-experience it at a different time, like a horrible nightmare or something like that. And it can change everything. But when you re-experience that by sharing it and talking about it, what you're doing is you're connecting it to whatever situation that you're in. I did not like connecting my traumas to a fucking therapy room sitting on a bed or a couch. I hated that. And I'm not pushing people away from therapy. I think everybody should go see a therapist. I think everybody, even if you're healthy. But it didn't work for me. It wasn't my thing. And so looking inside myself, and when I started studying Buddhism and everything like that, I started to realize that everything is right here and right here.
Yeah.
Everything you need is inside yourself.
Yep.
So
exactly.
it's great when we can reach those connections. So I'm assuming you get a lot out of these experiences just as much as these veterans.
What I take away is well, first of all, let me just address something really quick. You talked a couple of things about the new neural pathways, rewiring neural pathways in the experience. And so I thought about neural linguistic programming, where you can change, you can change your body state or your emotional state or mental state in a, like a snap of a finger or a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Just by being in a state that you want to be, like go from depression to joy. And if you can anchor that joy, you can help your body find that again pretty quickly. That's one thing. Compassion. You mentioned Buddhism a few times, and I'm a practitioner of Buddhism for a long time. And so compassion is one of the biggest parts of who I am. And so when you were relating that, if you feel someone's depressed, you can easily get depressed as well.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that has to do with the compassion that we have for each other and ourselves, and is to help lift that person or support them so that they can move through whatever it is that they need to, which is huge. So my takeaway from working with anybody is when they come in and maybe they're just having a real shit day, and by the end of a session, hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever, they feel better. I feel that they feel better. They're saying they feel better, and they are walking, a little more straight up or whatever it is. But I know when it's effective and when it's not as well. And I would never let anyone leave in a worse condition and better than when they came in, is what our goal is. So.
It's such an amazing feeling too when you can help guide somebody out of a hole. I often call it jumping in the pit. It doesn't matter what it is, if it's PTSD, it's depression, whatever. So jumping in the pit with the veterans that I'm working with, I don't mind doing it because I know how to get out. And I feel like, people like you, people like me, people like, 22 Until Valhalla, we got Steve Cohn on here. He's starting a nonprofit with fishing. And then Margot, I've had a lot of conversations. I did a podcast on Margot, but it's amazing what happens when somebody who has either been through certain traumas or has dealt with PTSD, like you said, that you've dealt with it your whole life.
Yeah.
When you can actually take that and create something that actually, that is literally a conduit to helping other veterans heal, you're holding on to that conduit. So you're healing as well. And it's such an amazing feeling to create that outlet, to be able to be the person who puts that outlet together and to be able to sit there and experience and watch it. It's such an amazing thing. And when you have a deep compassion for your brothers and sisters, especially when it comes to veterans, just because we are such a tight knit community, I feel like we are the only ones that can heal each other. I shouldn't say the only ones. I think we are very good at healing each other, because we do share that compassion for each other.
Yeah, that's true. It's like being in the club, right? People who haven't been in the club wouldn't necessarily have those experiences and don't quite have that same, sense of camaraderie. They can have great empathy, compassion, and everything. I know a lot of civilians who are equally as tight as any veteran is tight within their community. There's a group that I'm a member of called Operation Equine, recently formed, and I'm on one of the known as the Alpha Team, the first people to help establish and put it together.
Nice.
And it's another organization here in Colorado made up of both civilians as well as veterans who are helping other people, veterans, find ways of healing in their lives through horses. And there's probably half a dozen or so of us who are part of the that leadership team, and each with our own practices, because there's a lot of different equine practices out there in the world.
Yeah.
Some are riding, as you mentioned earlier. Some are more therapeutic, like what we're doing, and so it's a wide range of opportunity for folks to find ways to heal and help one another. And a lot of that is educating people who have never been in the military what military life is all about, both in the military and transitioning out. Because that, you mentioned that earlier, Nick. I mean, that's a huge leap out of 20 years or more. Living a lifestyle certainly changes. There's no rule books for that. So we help that transition as well. I mean, that in and of itself is huge.
And the TAPS program helps us with finding a job.
Yeah.
That's it. Like I didn't go through the TAPS program. I didn't even know what that was. People are telling me about it. I'm like, what the fuck is TAPS? Apparently I was supposed to go through it, but it's supposed to teach you how to get a job, but it doesn't teach you, like me and Margot, I really would like to keep working with her, but helping transitioning veterans.
Yeah.
How to heal mentally as well, how to adjust mentally, because there's so much more that comes into becoming a civilian after years in the military than just finding a job.
Right.
It's a lot of work. Hey, real quick, Margot had a question. She was asking, there it is. She said, do you guys work with group sessions, individual sessions, or both?
Oh, great question, Margot. Thanks for that. Both. We work individuals as well as groups. And what we've noticed, the women who have come together, at least two of them, sometimes 2, 3, maybe even 4, if they can find and encourage other women to come along. So, I mean, that's a powerful thing right there, to watch women helping each other, especially the women who have come to our sessions, say 2 or 3, 4 months, and then they're bringing new people in. So they're the natural leaders, and they help help us guide them, and it's a beautiful thing to watch. So yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
and if a veteran is ever, my friend Galen is pretty much like the godfather of veterans here in Minnesota, and he hates that term, but I don't care. Galen's an awesome guy. I met him through the whole military network here in Minnesota, and he always says, if there's anything, nothing feels better than being a veteran helping another veteran. If you're struggling, find out how to help another veteran. And I know you can attest to that just because of what you do, and when you can actually get to that point where you can offer another veteran, a possibility of healing, it completely changes everything about your life.
Yes, it does. It's a profound shift, a profound change. It's what I didn't know is it's my purpose in life, and it took me a long time to understand that. And the more that I do it, the more I feel resonance with that, and I know it's the right thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Wayne says they use the grateful heart theory. Do you know much about that?
Not so much. I think I read about it in one of the books, but I'd love to know more about it. Yeah.
Maybe that's something you guys could talk about. I'd definitely like to pick your guys' brain after you guys talk.
Yeah.
I actually got to have Wayne on too. It sucks that we couldn't do that documentary. It'd be so cool to get a little bit more out there about equine therapy. And honestly, I think it would be absolutely amazing if we can set some time up. Do you only have people over on the weekends, or would you do like, some weekday stuff?
Absolutely. So since I'm no longer in corporate America, my time is my time. So yeah, any day of the week.
Well, maybe we can set this up, just kind of thinking on the fly here, but maybe whenever we go back to Colorado to climb Mount Massive, I want to spend at least like 4 or 5 days there. So maybe we can start off in Colorado Springs, and we can do some horse therapy during the day before we go do jiu-jitsu.
Oh, wow, fun. Yeah, that'd be awesome. You guys are always welcome to come and see what we're doing. We're all about opening up our gates, literally.
Nice. And after my trip to Colorado, I have so many connections in Colorado too. So I'm going to share this with all those guys, and I think we met in the Colorado Veterans group, right?
Yes, we
Okay.
did on Facebook, right?
It's hard because I'm a part of a million Facebook groups for veterans. I mean, that's how I reach a lot of people. But
Yeah,
so what I'll do is afterwards I'll share this in the Colorado Veterans. I actually should have posted it in there before we started going live. I didn't think of that. But I'll share it there. And like I said, I'm going to send KJ to you. I think she would actually really benefit, spending a couple days with you.
cool.
She loves animals too, so it kind of works out.
All
And
right.
there's a lot of vets who are likely going to listen to this in the Colorado area. So I just want to say thank you for what you do. I really look forward to meeting you someday.
Nice.
I can't even ballpark when we're going to be there, because next year I'm going to be traveling the whole country for about
No.
50 days filming a documentary about jiu-jitsu and PTSD. So
Wow.
I likely won't be able to go until like late summer, but I'll know more after like July timeframe.
Okay, that'd be
So
awesome.
again, so you guys are a nonprofit, correct?
No, we are. Our business is a for-profit business.
Okay.
The Wind Rider Project is free for veterans and first responders. I mean, that's my give back to our veteran community.
Why not make that a 501c3?
I just haven't gone through the paperwork.
Well, if you need help, let me know, because
Okay.
I'm helping Steve with X22 Adventures. I got another friend starting equine therapy over in Washington.
Yeah.
I got another guy who's trying to start one here in Minnesota. Like I love helping veterans start things. So if you need help like going through the paperwork or anything like that, it's
Yeah.
much easier than you probably think. So let me know, and I'll see what I can do to try to help you guys out.
That'd be awesome.
And Wayne said he'll chat with you later too about getting set up.
Okay. That's cool.
He would probably be a better resource than me.
Because he's here in Colorado, right? Yeah.
No, he's in Montana, but
he's in Montana.
but he's doing equine therapy as well. So I think you guys should definitely talk.
That'd be awesome.
Okay. Well, cool. Thank you again, Glenn. I hope I get to meet you next year. If anything, let's keep in contact. I'll send a bunch of vets your way. And if you end up meeting with any vets who are interested in like some mountain climbing and stuff like that, just send them my way as well.
Absolutely. I will definitely do that. And you had mentioned climbing Mount Elbert. I summited Mount Elbert myself years ago.
Oh, did you?
Yes, I did. It was the first and only 14er I ever did. It's spectacular climb. Awesome to be on top of the world. And yeah, more of that.
It's beautiful up there. If you go to my YouTube, one of my veterans took all of the videos from the whole trip, and he had a drone out there, so he was flying the drone around, and it was absolutely beautiful. So Galito Alvarez did such an amazing job with that. Sorry, Galito, I said your name wrong again. But yeah, it's beautiful. So I can't wait to get back and try Mount Massive. So we will keep in touch. I will send people your way. Go ahead and send people mine, and check out thewindriderproject.com. And I hope to talk to you soon.
That's great, Nick. Thanks so much, my friend. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for being on.
My pleasure.
Hey guys, thanks for listening. I just want to let you guys know we do have a Patreon now. So if you are looking to support Warriors Next Adventure monthly, you can go there and you can pay $5 a month. There's a $25 a month. You get a free you get a coffee mug with it. And then also, I believe there's a $50 a month. You get a couple other items as well. And I will actually personally send you some gifts. I appreciate you guys listening. I appreciate you guys commenting. You guys have been great. It's nice to know that what I'm doing is actually giving some value to some people. Glenn, he reached out, and I had to have him on because of what he's doing. I love the fact that there's other veterans out there trying to heal and help other veterans. So if you guys are ever feeling down, or you're ever in that position where you feel like you need more to life, try reaching out to another vet and maybe helping them out with whatever they're going through. Maybe you don't feel like you're qualified. Fuck qualifications. It doesn't cost any money, and you don't have to be qualified to call another veteran and talk to them, because sometimes a phone call can save a life. So thank you guys. I appreciate you guys paying attention. I appreciate all of your donations. All of these trips couldn't be possible without you guys. So thank you. I love you guys. Have a good day.